ball here because the natural angle should bring it 2 rails back over for shot on the 2 in the right hand side pocket. But you have to shoot this with a little bit of speed, a little bit harder than you might think, because it's a full hit. So that full hit is going to slow down the cue ball a lot. And I hit a little bit too hard, so now I have to get a little bit creative to get on the right position on the 3 to get back on the 4. And I have 2 problems here. I'm jacked up over top of that 6 ball, and that's going to make the cue ball go straight in. Well, not straight into it. I'm just going to nick the side of the 9 ball, but you never want to do that. You always want to avoid hitting another ball unless you're doing it purposely and breaking out a cluster. In this position, I don't want to hit that 9 ball, but I'm forced to it. So I have to kind of spin it off the 9 ball and back up to the left-hand side of the table to come back down on the right side of the 3 ball to get the right position on the 4 ball. Top left to keep that cue ball under control and to keep it from getting away from you, but you have to be careful here. You don't want to massage this cue ball. Alright, now we seem to be in line on the 3 ball to get to the 4, and that in itself brings up an interesting issue. The most difficult part of 9 ball is that first pattern, getting through the 1 and through the 2, and if you can be in line by the time you get to the 3 ball, and by in line I mean in a position to get to where you need to be on the 4 ball, that is the most difficult part of 9 ball. So from there it should start getting easier. You have less balls in your way. And the whole thing is, often we kind of lose control of the 3 and the 2 and the 1. On the break, you should always strive to stay in control of the 1 ball and the cue ball during the break. But sometimes, it gets kicked around, and that's your big struggle. That's your big challenge. Being able to make the 1 and get on the 2, and I mean in a position on the 2 to get to the 3, in a position on the 3 to get to the 4. All the hard parts over after that, and all you have to do is shoot balls in the pockets. And this is being shot with bottom left to stun it into that rail and come back a little further down table for a little bit of a closer shot, and the right angle off the 4, so we have to go into that right hand rail. Yeah, because I have the right angle, I can shoot a stop shot on this, and it'll force the cue ball into the rail and to bounce off that right hand side rail for a pretty good position on the 5 to get to the 6. Well, you can if you want to, but I would not strive to get straight in on the 5, because if you go long, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. And you really don't want to be straight in on the 5. You want a little bit of right hand cut to just bounce off that left hand rail and get the right position on the 6 ball. Just a hair below bottom center, just to make up for the distance, and you should hit a stop shot. Well, it's not going to stop, a stun shot on the 4 to get right on the 5. Looks good to me, Scooby. It's all about staying in line from here on in, and it just keeps getting easier, or it should be, unless we really do something really asinine. And here's some potential to do something asinine here. We're putting top left on this, but you don't want to slam this ball, and you don't want to overspin the cue ball. Just a nice, even, good stroke on this without, juicing it. because you don't want to get on the wrong side of that 6 ball. If you get on the left-hand side of that 6 ball for left-hand cutting, then you're going to have to go 2 or 3 rails back out, well, 3 rails back up table on that 7 ball. And the problem with that is that 9 ball is right in the path of doing that. So yeah, just kind of roll this up smoothly and with a little bit of top, a little bit of left, and you should be perfect on the 6 to get down or back up table on that 7. One of my aha moments when I was a kid and I was trying to figure things out and angles and all that kind of stuff, I realized that I should always play for position to go into the rail. And that's because the rails open up a whole new world of options on what you can do with the cue ball. If you go into the rail, you can increase the angle coming into the rail, going off the rail. Or you can decrease it, or you can increase the speed of the cue ball. You can totally kill the cue ball off the rail. So it acts like a tool to where you're just not at the mercy of your cue stick and your stroke. You can also use the rail to gain even more control over whitey. So this is a pretty rare situation. In fact, it's very rare, to where I'm not using any rail at all to get on this 7 ball and to get the right position on the 7 ball. I could go down to that top rail and spin it off for the right position on the 7 ball, but I'm not. I'm gonna try to just use my stroke to get the right position on the 7 ball without depending on the rail. Straight bottom here, no left hand English, no right hand English. I have the right angle to bend the cue ball back into position for the 7. So the cue ball is going to want to go forward, and then the English, the backhand spin, is going to catch up and bend the cue ball back to the 7. This is a little bit dangerous because you're not using a rail. So let's go ahead and do it. This is another dangerous shot here because I am going into that left-hand rail on top of the 8 ball, between that side pocket and that 8 ball, and there's not a whole lot of room there, especially relative to the angle that it's coming up on. But now I could put left-hand English on this and just kind of stun draw this back for a shot, 5 or 6 inches off that rail without hitting the rail again, and still have a great, a great shot on the 8 to easily get back onto the 9. So I'm taking a little bit of risk here again and going into the rail. So it's kind of the opposite situation this time, where it's usually the safest to go into the rail. But in this case, because of the very little bit of room we have between the side pocket and the 8 ball, that's what makes it dangerous. You don't want to scratch here. So once again, just a straight bottom here. And I'm just drawing up above the 8. See, it's crazy to make a video about going into the rails when I'm showing you myself not using the rails. And here's another shot where I just don't use the rail. So I kind of overstroked it and drew it out of line, and it's because I didn't use a rail. So, I mean, I only went a little bit out of line. I went a little bit too long back down table, about 5 or 6 inches. But it's no big deal. It still left me with an easy shot. It would have been better to just draw this a foot or two back, and it would have been perfect on the 9 ball without any stress of worrying about where whitey's going. So you live and learn, and you try to pass on the information to the next generation of pool players. Peace, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.